My name is Nikita Gibbs Nolan, and I teach at Markham Elementary in Oakland. I teach third grade. Well, I was born and raised in Oakland. I recently moved to Hayward a few years ago, but I went to all Oakland schools, all of my elementary, middle school, and high school career, all in Oakland. I went to three different elementary schools. I went to St. Louis Bertrand, I went to St. Cyril's, and I went to Sherman Elementary. I also went to Claremont Middle School, and Oakland Tech is where I graduated from. So my connection particularly to Black education is as an educator, because I'm now in the education system. However, I'm also a product of being, or actually I was a recipient of, and I know that was a rare experience of in elementary having all Black educators. I had all Black teachers until I got to middle school, and I realized that there was a difference there, because in that community, it was a village. My parents knew all of my teachers, and they really looked out for us. If there was anything that we needed, they went beyond just teaching us a lesson. We also were provided whatever we needed outside of that, getting homework help. We had their home phone numbers. We would sometimes see them over the weekend and things like that, which was very unique. That didn't happen after I left there. I would say that I have two experiences that were memorable, and one was as a student. One of my favorite teachers was a dance teacher. I didn't know that she was at the time, but she really pushed that. We had like different performances and things like that, and she was very influential in my life, and that caused me to become a dancer later on in life, up into adulthood. As an educator, the most significant experience or memorable experience is actually seeing those students who I've taught come back. One in particular I ran into a couple of weeks ago, and she's actually in college, and she stated to me that I was an inspiration to her because I was the only one who ever mentioned college to her, and that was in the 4th grade, and she remembered that when they had to do a resume. And she remembered that, and she said that was one of her inspirations to actually apply for college. Well, I think that the state of Black education in Oakland is it's very sad right now because there's a scarcity of Black educators. A lot of the students don't have any identity or anyone to identify with that looks like them. I mean, we have bilingual classes. Those classes are taught by an individual who looks like them and speaks the language. I think that we have to go an extra mile to teach our students how to, or about their culture. They don't have the language connection and they don't know about their history. So it takes going the extra mile as an educator to impress those things. I think that it's, the state of Black education in Oakland as an educator is really difficult. I think because there's a lack of Black teachers. There's a lot of, different teachers, but not a lot of Black teachers. And I feel like as a community, the few of us that there's not a lot of connection there. Recently, they came up with the Black Teacher Project, which has been really helpful in connecting people. But I've always wished that they had, some kind of meeting space and support for new teachers. As a new teacher, it was really hard for me. I really struggled a lot. And I didn't feel like the students who I was, servicing, I was really giving my best to, because I didn't have the materials and I didn't have the experience to it. Nothing that I learned in school prepared me for what I was going to deal with my first year teaching. And I feel like, that really needs to change in Oakland. We really need to be able to support our educators and to be able to retain the teachers, because a lot of the teachers that I do know that were very good teachers left the school district because they weren't feeling supported, or they were dealing with children with trauma and didn't know how to deal with it, so they ended up leaving. I'm not exactly sure if that's a factor necessarily in getting the parents involved. As an educator, I've had a lot of dealings with, a lot of the Black families, and a lot of their experiences aren't being valued. I think that initially I kind of thought that maybe they weren't coming for, okay, well maybe they're just not interested, because they would show up for Halloween, they'd show up for different gatherings or assemblies, but they would not show up for report card conferences and different things like that. So I think that when I actually did my paper for my master's, I had a parent survey. And some of the parents were saying, well, I'm working, I can't attend these events unless it's at night, and none of those things were happening. The school wasn't accommodating their needs. And some parents were just going through a lot. They had other children. They didn't have, anybody to care for those kids while these school events were going on. And some of them have also had really bad experiences in school, and that even kept them away. Well, learning about the prison pipeline, learning about, the fourth grade test scores being so influential, and, determining whether a child was going to, be imprisoned or not. Those things became motivating factors for me in wanting to teach fourth grade particularly. I've since moved to third grade, but I still feel like, being able to be that inspiration, being the reason that, hey, I see someone who looks like me maybe in some cases, but even if that's not the case, just being able to know that they have somebody that's there, that's not going to leave, somebody who's able to support them. I still think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I really feel like there's an emphasis on like science and engineering, which I really feel like is promising, because there are a lot of, children, minority children in general, who don't see scientists and things like that, that look like them. And they don't feel like that's something that's obtainable. But since it's being taught a lot more in schools, and there's an emphasis, there's also funding being provided, I'm hoping that that does make a difference, and that they actually see themselves as scientists, mathematicians, and, they go into the tech fields. I think that being a Black educator, an educator in general, it entails a whole lot. I mean, you wear a lot of coats throughout the day, because you have to really get to know your students, and in getting to know them, you're dealing with 26, 30 different personalities, and being able to meet their needs and actually, getting across to them, you need to have the different resources in order to do that. And you also have to have the level of support, to make that happen. I would like to see, in moving forward in education, is just seeing more full service schools where there's one place where all of the families can go and actually have their needs met. They're able to get counseling, they're actually able to get resources for mental health services outside of being a Medi-Cal, recipient, because that's some of the issues that they have to go through, where they have food, that's, we can provide for the families. We have a lot of homeless families, different things like that. So I feel if it was able to be one thing I would ask for, is just having that. My name is Nikita Gibbs, and this has been the SOBEO Narrative Series.